Hello, this is my footage taken during a guided boat dive at Longreef. Longreef is an aquatic reserve and is the oldest in New South Wales at 41 years old this year, having been established in 1980. On this particular day, the swell was light and the sky was darkened by a blanket of clouds. Fortunately, we had impressive visibility, roughly between 15 to 20 meters. The purpose of this video is to provide a snapshot of the fauna that lives at this nature reserve and to perhaps encourage more people to give scuba diving a try. I will place the scientific and common names for all the species that are in the video at the bottom of the screen as they appear. There are two species which I'm fairly sure are what I've labelled them as, but since I'm not 100% certain, I have placed an asterisk next to their names. Lastly, there will be a phylogeny of the species that appeared in this video at the end, which should provide some insight into the evolutionary relationships between them. After the 15-meter descent, we were immediately greeted by a comb wrasse and a herd of spiny sea urchins. A well-camouflaged scorpionfish hides even while exposed, and a girdled scaly fin approaches. These fish are territorial, as we'll see later. A giant cuttlefish hovers at the entrance to a small cave, while a vibrant male crimson-banded wrasse swims up a nearby boulder. As the cuttlefish retreats into the cave, a female crimson-banded wrasse, in comparatively dull tones, swims horizontally across the boulder. One of the main attractions of the Longreef dive site is a swim-through affectionately named the Cathedral. At 20 meters down, this triangular cave is formed by two huge boulders leaning against each other and is roughly 10 meters long. A small school of stripies pass with two Australian meadows darting, mostly hidden behind them. While indistinguishable in the video, the green coating within the cave are bryozoans, rather than algae. These sessile animals are filter feeders and eat plankton that drift past on the currents. Exiting the cathedral, we were met with an enormous school of eastern pomfret that dimmed the penetrating light from the surface. A sea sweep swims across the foreground, and within this shoal, a red morwong hides. Bullseyes stick close to the boulders, and sea tulips sit affixed to the hard substrate. These tunicates are filter feeders, and gain their coloration from an obligately symbiotic sponge. The rocks are also encrusted with conjavoi, another species of tunicate which take on the appearance of rocks themselves. They are commonly known as sea squirts and are frequently encountered on tidal margins. A much larger congregation of bullseyes can be seen in the shade of a rocky overhang. These species commonly stick to caves and are more active at night. At this point, we come across a spotted wobbegong. These sharks are ambush predators and are commonly less than 2 meters long, however they can grow to over 3. They are most often found lying on flat substrate with ample cover and can be well camouflaged should that substrate be itself mottled or covered in seaweed. This individual is approximately 1.5 meters long and is uncharacteristically exposed. To the right of the Pomfret Shoal, a lone striped barracuda emerges. We cruised through the channels, long, straight trenches protected from cross-currents and encrusted with sponges, algae, barnacles and tunicates, and are pocked with small crevices that are filled with grazing sea urchins. a school of brown pullers drifts from the inner rim of the channel into the centre of the trench. These fish are in the same family as the girdled scaly fin seen throughout this video, and are both in the group commonly called damselfish. Further along the same canal, we encounter a shiver of grey nurse sharks. These sharks commonly grow to over 3 meters and either congregate in small groups or travel alone. They are considered to be harmless to humans and only attack if baited, preferring to flee than retaliate. They are slow moving during the day, but have increased activity at night. They take years to reach sexual maturity, 7 for males and 12 for females, and even then have a very low reproductive rate, birthing a pair of pups every 2 to 3 years. Grey nurse sharks can live up to 40 years themselves. This K-shifted life strategy leaves them vulnerable to population decline, as they can take decades to recover. Unfortunately, grey nurse sharks are critically endangered, with less than 1,500 individuals thought to be left along Australia's east coast. They have been the target of culling in the past due to an assumed threat to humans, and commonly receive injuries from recreational fishhooks and lines. They are also caught and killed as bycatch. Longreef is an aggregation site for these sharks, and fortunately so, as the area is conserved. However, just protecting areas is not enough to recover their numbers. These sharks do move between aggregation sites, and with such low numbers, any more population loss pushes them further into the realm of inbreeding, leading to the increased prevalence of rare and fatal recessive genetic diseases. When diving with grey nurse sharks, we have a responsibility to not spook or stress them. We wish to witness them in their natural habitat and expressing natural behaviour. There is an official code of conduct when diving with these sharks that I will now state. All divers must not night dive in sites identified as habitat critical to the survival of grey nurse sharks, touch, feed, or interfere with the natural behaviour of grey nurse sharks, chase, harass, or interrupt the swimming patterns of grey nurse sharks, block cave entrances, gutters, or entrap grey nurse sharks, dive in groups totaling more than 10 divers, and use mechanical apparatus including, but not limited to, scooters, horns, and electronic shark protection devices. A giant cuttlefish swims in the open. These animals spend most of their time resting and very little actually foraging or hunting. This one seems to be simply moving, but finds itself unintentionally encroaching upon the territory of a girdled scaly fin. The relatively tiny but very aggressive fish approaches and takes a bite, and the cuttlefish, surprised by the attack, quickly shifts its chromatophores from stone-coloured camouflage to a black threat display before backing up into a small cave. Upon turning around, another spotted woebegone cruises over a boulder and begins to settle into a gap in the rocks, while the crimson-banded wrasse, girdled scalyfin, 2 longfin bannerfish, and a group of comb wrasse swim above. Finally back at the anchor, the dive master asks if everyone is okay and ready to ascend. In order of appearance, the common and scientific names of the species that appeared in this video. This is a phylogeny showing the evolutionary relationships between the species. Check out our website for more detailed phylogenies, and check the video description for links to the Australian Museum's website, citations, and credits for the photos used. Thank you for listening.